my name is Alexa and I'm one of the mountain school instructors here at the North Cascades Institute. Lately we've really been missing having students up here learning and exploring around our Environmental Learning Center. One thing in particular I miss a lot is our skull program. And this is typically an evening program where we all work together to solve some nature mysteries and identify different animal skulls. So fun. We are going to try to bring a little of that experience home to you virtually over these next few videos. This video is going to dive into some of the clues that we'll be using going forward to help us do a lot of that identification. So, like I mentioned, we are here at the Environmental Learning Center inside North Cascades National Park. This is such a unique and special ecosystem, lots of really cool living and non-living things working together to support each other. During these videos, we're going to be focusing on those living or previously living things, specifically consumers. I got this word consumer written behind me. Go ahead and take a second and think, if you don't already know what it means, think if anything stands out to you or reminds you of anything about this word. For me, when I hear it, the word consume stands out. And this helps me remember that consumers are cool because they need to consume or eat things in order to get their energy. So we, as humans, are consumers. I just ate some mac and cheese for lunch. Now I got lots of energy. This is different from like plants, also called producers, which produce or make their own energy. So, in thinking about consumers, actually knowing what types of food an animal eats is a huge clue and really helpful in identifying an animal skull. So we're going to dive into 3 specific types of consumers real quick. We've got one type that starts with an H, one that starts with a C, and one that starts with an O. These are all different in thinking about the types of food that each of these categories eats. So with that clue in mind, I challenge you to pause this video for a second and brainstorm, maybe jot down a few ideas as to what you think the H, the C, and the O might stand for. Go ahead and do that. All right, hopefully you had a second to write down your best guesses. We're gonna go through them pretty quickly here so we can dive into a few more cool aspects of the animal skulls that will help us. So first off, we've got the H here, and this stands for, maybe you guessed it, herbivores. Awesome. So looking at and hearing this word herbivore, think if any part of that word reminds you of anything. For me, I hear the word herb, makes me think of my favorite herb, cilantro, which is a plant. And that helps remind me that herbivores eat primarily plants. Pretty sweet. Moving on, we've got the C, which stands for carnivores. Go ahead and take a look at that word for a second. This word, I hear part of the Spanish word for meat, which is carne. And that is how I remember that carnivores primarily eat meat. Awesome. All right, moving on. Our last one here starts with an O. This one might be a little bit tricky. This stands for omnivores. All right, so just like the first 2 words, this one also has a little clue in it. This word omni, right there, actually means all. So that helps me remember that omnivores are able to eat both plants and animals. We as humans are actually omnivores. We have the teeth to grind up plants and tear apart meat if we want to. If you're like, Alexa, I am a vegetarian. That's awesome. So cool. And we do have teeth that make it possible to eat meat if we wanted to. Great. Moving on. We're going to look at a few specific parts of the skulls that will help us to identify not only what type of consumer we're looking at, but also what specific animal we might be looking at. So the first clue, kind of going off what we were just talking about, is going to be the teeth. Okay, go ahead and take your tongue and maybe run that across the teeth in your mouth. Think, do I feel a lot of really pointy, sharp teeth? Do I feel some flat teeth with ridges? Do I feel both? So those flat molar teeth are key in being able to grind up plants. And any sharp teeth, maybe your canines, are really helpful in being able to tear apart meat. If an animal has both, that might tell us they're able to eat both plants and meat. Pretty cool. One other part of the skull that we will be looking for is something called a sagittal crest. This is at the top of the skull, and if you're like, Alexa, I've never heard this word before in my life, you are not alone. I had no idea what it was before I came to work here. But a sagittal crest is almost like a little mini shark fin that is sometimes on the top of an animal's skull. And if it is there, maybe you can pat your head and see if you feel one. Hopefully you don't. But if an animal does have a sagittal crest, that gives us a clue that they have a really strong bite. And that's because the sagittal crest is where those jaw muscles attach. And if they're attaching all the way at the top of the head, their bite is so strong. So that's another thing we're going to look for. One other clue is going to be when we look at the eyes. So you can go ahead and take your hands, and you're going to make 2 circles. And you can repeat after me. You can put them in front of your eyes and say, eyes in the front, likes to hunt. Excellent. Now you can put them out in front of you, cross them, and attach them back to your eyes. And say, eyes on the side, likes to hide. That is a helpful tool that can remind us that animals with eyes facing straight forward are more likely to be predators, so they do the hunting. Maybe they are a carnivore or an omnivore. If animals have eyes on the side, they're able to be a little sneakier and be aware of their surroundings, keeping an eye on their body. And they are more likely to be prey, so what the predator is hunting. All right. We've got a few other clues that we'll be looking at in general. So we want to keep in mind the general size and shape of an animal's skull. If I see a big skull like this, maybe I'm thinking it's probably not a mouse. Maybe we want to keep in mind nasal cavity or the nose of an animal. If it's really big, that might give us a clue that they have a great sense of smell. And yeah, it's just another clue that can help us in identifying. That was a lot. Feel free to rewatch again before you dive into the first mystery, but these are all going to be so helpful moving forward. Like I mentioned, we're going to have 3 skull mystery videos, and we'll work together to identify those. But they're all animals that live here in the North Cascades. And I'm going to give you a challenge before you dive into the first mystery. I'm going to challenge you to brainstorm a list of herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores you think might live here. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you at our first mystery.